Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished watching this most recent episode of the Daryl Dixon show, and I decided to try to pronounce this name because I think it'll be a little fun. I don't know what this is. Let's see. It's Paris Sera Toujours. Paris. I know, I butchered the living crap out of that. I have no idea how to pronounce this name, but that's the name of this episode. Guys, this is episode 3 of the Daryl Dixon Show. That's really all you need to know, just to know that it was a good episode, okay? It was a good episode. It wasn't nearly as good as episode 2, in my opinion, but that's okay. I think this episode did a very good job of setting up what's to come in the last, 3 episodes of the show that we have. We have 4, 5, and 6 now, so it's setting up the ending of this story arc, I think. Now, obviously, we are going to be getting a multi-season story arc here, but this episode really followed the plot of them getting to Paris and meeting the group of people whose names I don't know, but on that journey, we see a little bit of interesting stuff. Thanks. That we're going to get into in a little bit. And we also get the return of Quinn, a character who was in the previous episode, which was in Isabella's flashback, or Isabel, not Isabella, but whatever. We got the return of Quinn, and he came back in sort of a villain role. Who knows what sort of role we're going to see him play later on in the story. But this episode really, honestly, there was a lot of events that happened for sure. But for some reason, at least for me, it felt a little, uneventful. There was some really good dialogue we got between Isabel and Daryl, but outside of that, there wasn't really too much here that stood out for me. This was just a very run-of-the-mill, just set-up sort of episode, and that's okay. I think every episode of the show needs to have those episodes so that it could tell a reasonably good story, you know what I mean? Not every episode is going to be sunshine and rainbows. Some of these episodes are just going to have to set some stuff up, and that's fine, and that's what this episode is. So, in the beginning of the episode, we saw Daryl and Isabel break off from Laurent and the other lady and go into this place that was supposed to have a radio or something, but all they found was some weird composer trying to be like Hans Zimmer or something, but he was using an army of the dead to make his music. It was like the Rocky Horror Picture Show or something. It was very bizarre. Very, very, very bizarre. And I'm glad Daryl also was like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? And that's my really bad Daryl impression, but I'm glad we got that because it was weird. There's no way around it. But I thought Daryl was going to kill this guy for starting an army of the musical dead or whatever. I don't know. But I thought Daryl was going to kill the guy. He didn't end up doing that. They ended up leaving, and Daryl was saying to Isabel, all right, we're going my way now. Oh my God, that is so not Daryl, Jesus. But you get the point. They then shifted plans from Isabel's plan to Daryl's plan to get to Paris. And in doing so, they come up on this group of people who I guess are where they were taking Laurent to. I don't know. All I know is they did a cover of People Are Strange in French, which was awesome. And at the very end of that cover, they passed Jim Morrison's grave. And I thought that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. That was fun to see because I love the Doors. I love Jim Morrison as a whole. So seeing it come together with that, it was just fun. It was really fun. But we then get the introduction to the group of people whose names I couldn't tell you. The guy looks like Ezekiel with the same beard sort of vibe sort of thing. I don't know. I mean, obviously not the exact same, but looked kind of like an Ezekiel just from this storyline. And they take him in, they take Laurent in, and automatically Laurent goes up to some woman whose husband died 3 days ago, and magically he's the one to cure her or something like that. I thought that was a little goofy. I'm not going to lie. Again, I don't really have too many complaints with this episode because it was good. It wasn't a bad episode, and honestly, so far, as of right now, there haven't been any bad episodes of the show, but I did find it a little goofy that magically Laurent, who these people just, I guess, met, I don't know, maybe they heard about him, but these people all just met this kid, barely even knew what he looked like, I'm assuming, before, and now he's just the Messiah, as they say, and he goes and cures the needy and the sick and the ba-ba-da. He goes up to some woman grieving and automatically hugs her, and they're all like, no one's been able to do that. Okay, what? I don't know. I don't know if I believe that whole thing. And I actually like Laurent. I think he's genuinely a very good character. I've enjoyed him a lot so far. He's definitely the best kid actor that we've had in the Walking Dead franchise ever. And that's pretty crazy to admit. But regardless, I thought it was a little goofy that we had that whole thing. It's just a little odd. We're going to move past it because I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I don't know. If you thought that was goofy, let me know down in the comments too. But anyway, we then get them going to the catacombs, and somehow in the catacombs, there's just a club, which is pretty awesome. I mean, honestly, there's some really cool clubs here in New York that are fun, that are hidden gems and stuff like that. But this was pretty awesome. I wish I was in Paris to go explore the catacombs clubs out there. I'm sure there is something like that. I honestly don't know. But it was really cool to see that they had that. And then they go into that club in the catacombs, and who's there? It's Quinn. Pretty interesting. And we get a little bit of a back and forth with Quinn and Isabel. That was interesting. I thought he was going to be more pissed, but the big bombshell that we get here is that Quinn's kid is Laurent too. So there was like a little love triangle going on between the two sisters and Quinn. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Okay. But so that's what we get. And then out of nowhere, the guy who looks like every classic Inglourious Basterds villain or something like that, he comes into the club and is like, I'm looking for Daryl, which apparently he speaks English, which, what? Like, we spent 3 episodes not knowing he spoke English, but now he just speaks it? I don't get it. Okay, but he shows up, and then obviously Quinn gives the location of where Daryl and Isabel are. So at the very end of the episode, we get a pretty cool fight scene between Daryl and the Inglourious Basterds looking dude. I don't know, I honestly couldn't tell you his name. He's the villain, but couldn't tell it. I don't know. And it was a little interesting that what we got was a scene with him and the girl who was on the boats or whatever, who was running the boats. I guess she's like the main villain of I'm going to call them the CRM because that's what they seem like they are, the CRM people. That was pretty interesting to see. And in that whole series of events, we get some interesting developments. We see some Walker go absolutely nuts and then his head explodes or something like that. And we also see a sequence of the burning walkers with what I would say is probably really poor CGI. Honestly, I didn't like the sequences we got of Isabel and Daryl leaving Isabel's previous apartment. And we see all of these walkers that are the burning walkers or whatever. But like the CGI there was a little goofy. Like they were falling from the buildings. Why? I honestly don't know. Was it a trap from that little girl? I couldn't tell. But we get all of them falling. And I feel like they skipped a few frames like they usually do for visual effects. Like I know they do that in VFX. Sometimes they'll skip frames to make it look like a more big drop or things like that. But it looks like we got that. And then the CGI looked just bad. Like it just didn't look good. And when the Walker was doing the whole like thing, I don't even know how to describe what he was doing. He was like dancing like Michael Jackson, but just like coming back to life. I don't know. That was kind of bad. Like, I didn't enjoy that. And then when Daryl had him on the thing, it looks like a puppet. Like, it just didn't look real. It looked bad. I don't know. Again, these are small nitpicks. Like, they're not big things that are going to be like, oh, don't watch this episode. This is a bad episode of TV. They're just small things. And honestly, I'm really making air to them because I don't really have much to say about this episode, so I'm going to nitpick it a little bit more than the others. This episode was fine. It was good. There was nothing like terrible about it. It was just kind of boring to me, I guess. There wasn't anything that really, I guess there was things that drove the plot forward, but it didn't really feel like that. It felt like it wasn't going anywhere. And again, there was a lot that happened, but it just didn't really, it just wasn't my favorite. Wasn't my favorite. It was okay. It was okay. If I had to rate this out of the 3, this would be my least favorite, but that doesn't mean it's a bad episode of TV. I still enjoyed watching it through and through. Very, very just good, basic episode. Nothing super standoutish, and that's okay. But that's really all I have to say. I can't think of much else to bring up in this video, and, with all of that out of the way, I want to start a healthy conversation down there in the chat, same as always. So let's bring this conversation there, and with that finally all done, thank you again so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I will talk to you later. Peace out.